The Medrash on this week's Parsha tells over a story with Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir was giving a speech in his shul, and a woman had attended the speech, enjoyed it obviously very much, returns home, and her husband says, "Where were you?" And she responds, "I was at the speech of Rabbi Meir." And her husband said, "Get out of here. I don't want to see you again till you spit in Rabbi Meir's face." Deplorable man, tremendous disrespect for a mayor, and definitely did not treat his wife in any sense of dignity. And Eliyahu the prophet, comes to Rabbi Meir and tells Rabbi Meir what happened and says, "This lady is going to come to you, and this is why." So Rabbi Meir's sitting in his shul studying, and sure enough, the woman meekly walks in. And Rabbi Meir pretends to have some major problem with his eye and says quickly to the woman, "Quickly, spit in my eye 7 times, so he can get this thing out." And the woman goes and does that. And Rabbi Meir says to her, "Great, now you could go home to your husband and say, I spit in Rabbi Meir's face." And Rabbi Meir's students were baffled. They said to Rabbi Meir, "You didn't have to do that. You could have went to her husband, you could have laid down the law and say, what kind of chutzpah is this? What kind of disrespect to me, to your wife?" And you could have rebuked him and had him retract that way. You didn't have to let yourself be treated with such a disrespect and let this woman spit in your face and let this man get his wishes. And Rabbi Meir said that just like in this week's Parsha, by the story of the Sota, that Hashem was willing to have his name erased in order to create peace between a man and wife. I can be mevatel my kavod. I could nullify and disregard my own dignity in order to help this woman, in order to create peace between two individuals. Even though this guy was a lowlife, this guy was not a good person, yet Rabbi Meir went out of his way to remove his own dignity and let a woman spit in his face and appease this man in order to help another human being, in order to help another person do chesed. They say over this story with Rabbi Isser Zalman Meltzer, one of the great Torah sages of the 20th century in Israel. One day, he's at his home with some students and his family, and one of the students is looking outside the window, and he sees who he thought to be the Brisker Rav, the Torah giant, the leading authority in Torah Judaism in Israel at the time, heading towards the home of Rav Meltzer. And the student calls out and says, "Rabbi, the Brisker Rav is coming." And Rabbi Meltzer jumps up and he grabs his Shabbos frock, his Shabbos jacket, and he starts clearing off the table, and he's telling his family to bring in some food and drinks for the great Brisker Rav who's coming for a visit. And as the man gets to the door, knocks on the door, and they open the door, and to the tremendous embarrassment of the student, they realize it's not the Brisker Rav at all. It was just some old elderly Jewish pauper coming to the door asking for some money. But Rabbi Meltzer's his feeling, his way he presented himself, his facial expressions, everything about him did not change an iota. And he welcomed in this man, and he sits him down, and he gives him food, and he talks to him, and he spends a lot of time with him, and this man is just so overwhelmed and startled. He wasn't expecting this from Rabbi Meltzer. But Rabbi Meltzer gives him the full royal carpet treatment, and when they're done, he gives him, when the man asks for money, he gives him money, and he walks him out the door, and he walks him down the steps, and he escorts him out goodbye. And his family and students were asking him after, who is this man? Why do you give him so much respect and treatment? And Rabbi Meltzer responded so profoundly that every human being, every person's Tzelem Elokim has a piece of God in him, is created in God's image, and deserves that level of respect, that level of dignity, and that level of treatment. We may not be able to tap into that all the time. We may not have the appreciation of other people to that degree. And it may be hard to motivate ourselves to give each other that treatment. But ultimately, that's really what they should get. Avram Avinu, Avram, our forefather, the Torah tells us he saw these 3 men that he assumed were idol worshippers. And he ran to greet them, and he ran to welcome them, and he gave them a meal fit for kings. Because that's what they deserve. They're godly, they're an image of God, and our respect should be lessened, and we should do whatever we can to be able to serve other people and provide chesed and human dignity. Here, says Reb Meltzer, I was able to tap into it because I thought the brisker Rav was coming, but because I was getting ready for Great Torah Stage, I was already motivated. I had been jolted and charged to treat a person like that. So now that it's not that person, he should lose out on what he deserves. I should turn it off, and that's why I treated that man as such. I think the message is obvious and profound for the current events. With all that was going on with the coronavirus and all the message that we got from it and the shake-up that it did, I will offer that perhaps in one area maybe we lost a little sensitivity. When you hear numbers of 100,000 people dying, we hear numbers like that, we hear numbers of more people died from coronavirus than the entire Americans that died in the Vietnam and Korean War combined, we lose the sensitivity and appreciation of what each individual life is. And now we have an event that happened the other way. And we have one person was killed and it created a firestorm in the whole world. America is up in arms, and the firestorm created an ability to push coronavirus out of the news, which has been the single dominant thing in the news non-stop for months. One person's life. And this person perhaps was a criminal. Maybe yes, maybe no, or committed some criminal acts. Maybe he wasn't a great guy. Maybe yes, maybe no, but he was an individual, and a human life is so powerful. He's a Tselem Elokim. He is created in the image of God, and he deserved the dignity and treatment of any other individual. Let us not lose the focus of the message and get caught up in other discussions about riots and looting, and which cause us to focus on the downside of human behavior and the lack of greatness in the individual. And let's focus on what's the most important message: that every human being is a Tselem Elokim, is a piece of God, and they deserve respect and dignity, and every life matters, that the whole world should be created for it. And we have the ability to tap into that. We as a Jewish people, we have experiences that can help us tap into that. The Torah tells us that we have to treat strangers with extra care because because we were strangers in Mitzrayim. Something which happened hundreds and now thousands of years ago. It still has the ability for us to tap into it and feel that slavery, feel that servitude, feel that otherness, and we could tap into that to care for other people. So how can we ignore that? How can we not focus in and feel the pain and injustice that they feel? We as a people need to realize that every individual is a human being in the Tselem Elokim, and let us use this as a way of focusing on inward. Do we feel that for every other person? And how can we make us feel it more? And what can we do to make others feel that they are as special as they are? Good Shabbos.